Hi, it's Lucy here, and I have a video I think you'll love today. It has so many card designs, so easy, so fun, and they look gorgeous. I'm going to be using these dies I recently received from In Love Arts. Have you heard of them? They design and manufacture their own die designs. They're no stealing anyone else's designs. They're all theirs, and these are gorgeous. I can't wait for you to see what I've created. So I've decided to use up some of my really old papers for this video. I'm using this American Crafts paper pad called Cedar Lane. If you love it, you may be able to Google it to see if it's still selling somewhere, or I'll have a link to where you can see their other paper pads down in the description below. I don't have a full pad here, but I'll use what's left. I can then discard anything left over at the end. I end up creating 19 cards here. In the past, I'd printed out this cute boho baby from Creative Fabrica. It comes in a sweet set and it's half price at $2.50 on sale at the moment. The link's below. I just thought I'd let you know. They have so many amazing digital images and fonts, all with commercial license. I use their website a lot. I create digital cards too, but that's for another video. We'll get back to this one. So I'll get everything organized first by cutting all the pieces from this one sheet of paper. I don't think I end up using any of them in the end, but it doesn't take long to cut them all, and it gives me a lot of options. I'll then fussy cut all the flowers from this paper. I'll even cut all the flowers hanging off the edge, as they'll be perfect to use peeking out from other flowers or papers. I'm going to fussy cut all the tiny flowers too. I'm not cutting them perfectly. This paper is great for that, as it's scribbly flowers, so they don't need to be perfectly cut. I won't show you much of the fussy cutting, as I have just created a video on tips and tricks with fussy cutting techniques, and so please watch that one if you want some more close-ups of fussy cutting. Just one more thing on fussy cutting though, those red parts I'm going to leave, and there's also dark brown print as well, and I just think it's going to be too hard to fussy cut, so they are going to get discarded, and I will just do the main flowers and leaves. I'll also make my own flower here as well by doodling on the back of the brown paper, and then I can just cut it out and the other side will just have a nice brown flower. Then I can cut out of that mint strip of paper a little circle to make the flower center. And I think it looks quite cute, and I can't remember whether I actually use this or not, but it's an option and I'll leave it in just so that you can see that you can make your own flowers as well. I'm also going to create my own leaves with some of the brown paper that's left over as well. I do use it on one of the cards too, so it did actually come in handy. And I'll use my fine liner pen to create the leaf grooves. This is just an idea for using up the scraps of any papers that you have, so that you can have some more matching embellishments. And when they're papers like this, they just don't have to be perfect. It's fine, and I think it looks great underneath that flower with the other leaf. I thought the flower centers looked a little boring, so I decided to get out my hole punch and punch out some mint flower centers, and lo and behold, I was like, where has the little hole gone? Because I really want those. And this is the first time I've had this since I don't even know when, and I didn't realize that it actually has a catcher. And so when I open it up, I've got like thousands of little holes to choose from for my flower centers, so they don't all just need to be mint anymore. Yeah, you learn something new every day, don't you? So I'm going to start by choosing what papers to go with what dies. I have been wanting a background die like this forever, so I couldn't wait to have a play with this one. I'll go through the papers and choose just a few, although most would go beautifully. I really want to create with metallic card today too. This will really give the cards some pizzazz, as they won't have an awful lot of embellishments on them. I'll be using rose gold and gold card today. I'll also choose what flowers I'll probably use. Of course, I don't always stick to my plans. Things change, but at least I have a starting point. So this next background die as well is absolutely stunning, and I can't wait to try this as well. I don't have any background dies at this stage until these. I have this shimmery, almost plastic looking paper. It's not thick, but it's beautiful. And this is the first time I've tried it. I think this will go lovely with this die. I'm going to add some wide double-sided tape to it, so when it's cut out it'll be like an adhesive sticker that'll save me trying to glue it all down. I'll choose some flowers again and move on to the next die. I create at least 2 cards with each die, so this should hopefully give you some new ideas with your background dies. And if you love the ones I'm using today, all 5 of them totaled around $35 US, and they have free shipping for orders over $29, so it's a total bargain. Plus, In Love Arts are generously giving my viewers 25% off. How good is that? So use the code Lucy25, and I'll of course have this written below, so later when you love these dies and what I've created as much as me, you'll need that link. I create 4 cards with this flower die, and I think they turn out great. They're all different, and yeah, one or two ways that you may not have thought of as well, so this is going to be fun. I'll actually die cut all of the flowers out, and then I can make a few cards with them and mix and match them all. And then I have this tree one, and I decide that this round circle one will be perfect for it, because if I can try to get some full love hearts out of those circles, then instead of die cutting this out of lots of pattern papers, I can just use this one paper and die cut it a couple of times, and then that way I've got lots of different heart designs, and yeah, it's all from the one paper. And then I'll add the adhesive tape again to some gold card. I'll die cut them all out with my electric die cutting machine. I love how it's A4 size, fits all these dies at once, especially as I need to die cut a few of the dies more than once. So I won't show you more than this set, as you'll see what I've die cut as we go along. If you don't have the same papers or dies that I have to create these cards today, it should still help you with perhaps what you already have in your stash. I thought I'd use fall and autumn papers in this video, seeing as a lot of you are now in that season. We're having a lovely spring here in Australia at the moment. Maybe you can hear the birds chirping as I have my craft room door open today. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. I don't say it very often, and I know a lot of you wonder where the accent is from. This is the first time I've used this paper, and I really should have used a shim to add extra pressure to it, as it's not normal paper. I just use scrap paper for a shim. I don't have a proper shim. This seems to do the trick. But to save it, I can just use my craft knife to finish off any of the cutting that didn't go through all the way. The impression is already there, so it's easy to do. I don't blame the dye in any way. It's definitely the type of shiny paper that I used, and I'll know for next time. Isn't it beautiful? I'll also use the diamonds on a card after too, as they're too sweet to throw them all away. The size of this background die is to suit USA size cards, which are a little shorter than Australian C6 card sizes. You'll see I don't have a perfectly symmetrical border around the card. I have 3 options available for us Aussies. Most of the time I've left it. It's not very noticeable. The second option is to chop off a small amount from the bottom of the card. It still suits the same envelope size, so no one will know. And the third option is to add a thin strip of paper to the bottom of the card. And I do this on one of my cards, and it looks lovely too. I'm going to line up a rectangle die that's almost the same size as the diamond background die, and a circle die in the center. I want to die cut the center circle out so it's white, and I'll tape them down so they don't move during the die cutting. And I'll use that circle on a different card too. Nothing goes to waste. For one of these cards, I used double adhesive tape to die cut it. And with this one I didn't, so I'm going to use my Uniquely Creative glue pen, and it's really good for fine die cutting like this to adding glue to. It will take me a while, even with my metal tipped glue, and might get a little bit messy otherwise, so this is perfect. And I'm not going to do every single line, but I will just crisscross some and make sure that the main parts are stuck down, which means that the middle parts will then stay secure too. I arrange the flowers how I want them and then look for the right sentiment, which can be a bit tricky sometimes. I like to try different ones until I'm happy with it. If I settle on something I'm not quite happy with, I find I'm not quite happy with the entire card, and I find that disappointing. So just a couple more minutes of looking usually does the trick, and I find what I need. So although this is a gorgeous sentiment there, it just didn't really stand out very much. This one I used foil laminating tricks, which I have done a video in the past on, but I wasn't happy with that one either. And then I ended up coming up with this little sentiment one from Uniquely Creative, and I find this is perfect. This is exactly what it needs, and I'll just mount that onto that same gold paper so that it stands out a little bit more against the white. And I'll also add some little circles that were die cut out from when I die cut the 5 flowers die, so I'll use those for my flower centers. And I'll add foam tape and glue to the flowers before adding them because I want them to stand out a little higher on the background. I'll add glossy accents to the flower centers too. I have a few air pockets in it, so I'll just try to burst them with my metal tip of the bottle. This usually does the trick, but if not, I'll use a pin to burst them as well. And then this card is finished, and I think it looks really pretty. What do you think? I love that background die. I can see me using it often. I use exactly the same metallic paper background die cut, but this one has the adhesive backing I'd added before die cutting it. I'm going to choose which paper looks best under it, and that will guide me to how I want this card to look. I choose the white paper with the tiny black polka dots on it. I really like how this looks with the gold, so I'll just add it straight on, and that was nice and easy to do. I'll cut off the excess and add it to the front of a card front. All I'm going to add on this one is this sentiment die that I love. I die cut it in the same metallic gold, then used the border die to cut out a black border. I did die cut this twice so I could add in the black holes in the letters as well. I just like to do that. I'll also use some Nouveau crystal drops in ebony black to match all the black on the card. I don't think my Nouveau bottle is warm enough as the drops didn't come out too well. But I'll slap the card onto my computer mouse. I use anything of height on my desk really, and this seems to help the liquid to distribute into nicer shaped dots usually. Mine aren't great today, but that's okay, it happens. If you watched my latest video about me having my charity cards returned, here's how I've used the written sides of the cards. I'm going to add double-sided tape to them so I can add all these die cuts to them. I love these 4 cards so much, and they all look different. Are you excited to see the designs and how I embellish them? I can't wait to hear if you have a favourite of the dies or the cards, what you liked best. Everyone has different tastes, so it's really interesting to read. So firstly, I'll add the frame down, and then I can choose which papers that I want to go with which. I'm not going to mix them all up this time, which I will do in another video, I'm sure, at some stage. But this time I wanted to keep them very uniform, and I really love how it turns out. These are like puzzle pieces, and it's so much fun. If you like puzzles, you will love this. If you hate puzzles, you probably won't. But what happens is it's very easy, and that other piece, I couldn't figure out where it went. So I figured if I put it down and I put the others all on, then I'll only have one spot left, so I know exactly where it will go in the end. And then I can't believe that I didn't get it in the first place, but you know. I haven't done a puzzle in quite a while. but I absolutely loved doing this. I can just see me sitting there watching TV and making heaps of these in all different colors and styles. Like, yeah, I just absolutely, the whole time I was putting this together, I was just in my head going, I love doing this. I love doing this. I used to enjoy doing jigsaw puzzles. I always felt like I was doing it for no reason. Whereas this, I can make a card out of it at the end. So, yeah, I was absolutely loving doing all these die cut ones. And, yeah, it has made me think that I would love to do, have so many more of these sort of background dies in the future. I know that I will use them. With this one, I felt like it needed some more teal paper for the background of it rather than the white, because otherwise it just wasn't holding enough interest for me. So what I'll do is I'll cover the card front in this teal, and then I'll add the background to it, and then it just helps it to stand out really nice. I'm going to cut the bottoms off these two cards as well, just a little slight amount. And as you can see, that other one, the gold was a bit plain by itself. There was so much of it, so I embossed the entire background with a polka dot embossing folder, and I think it turned out really lovely. That friend sentiment is from Uniquely Creative, and it's just gorgeous too. And the same with that little chipboard piece that I've used, and I also used a postage stamp die to cut the border out. And then this one I used some lace and some flowers and some rhinestones as well, and I think they've all turned out really pretty. This next background die is similar with how it has the frame, and then each triangle has a frame and then the full triangle. I'll create two cards at the same time with it. This will save me time. I wasn't particularly careful with where I was adding the main pieces, so some of the same patterns end up next to each other, but once the embellishments are on, I don't think it really notices, so it's okay. What do you think of these type of background dies? Do you enjoy doing them? Do you have any? Do you like doing these sort of puzzle type ones? I'd love to hear about it. These two cards turn out very differently to each other, even though they basically have the same background. For the first one, I'll add a craft card to the card base so it has a lovely warm brown base to it. I'll add the background piece higher on the card, and then I'll add a thin strip of the rose gold paper to the bottom. This is one of the options I mentioned Aussies can use with the US size background dies. So now to embellish this one, and it came together so easy, and it is easy. I just added a rose gold sentiment I'd previously die cut along with the background dies, and then I've chosen a couple of fussy cut paper flowers, and the card is almost done. I doubled up on the sentiment die to give it a little height, and I'll add centers to the flowers from my scrap holes to finish the card. And I think it turns out great. What do you think? Sometimes when the background has a lot going on, you don't want to add too much to the card. It needs to kind of seamlessly blend with the background rather than be fighting it. I'm really pleased with how this one turned out. And then the next one is a baby card. So something completely different. And here they both are side by side. I didn't video adding the embellishments to the baby card, but I did use some wooden alphas and heat embossed them with a reddy brown embossing powder. And I die cut the hello sentiment from the brown paper in the paper pad and added one of the brown leaves I made as well. I lightly inked around the baby image to blend in better with the background too. I used vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink for that, and I also used a fine liner pen to colour in the baby's eyes a bit darker too. So I've run out of time on this video. It's getting so long and I still have so much more to show you. So I promised 10 cards. So I have 2 bonus cards you haven't seen yet, and the making of them and another 7 cards will be on part 2 of this bundle. I hope you've enjoyed seeing all of these and they've given you some ideas or inspiration. I love hearing if any of them have got you excited to create something. Please share my videos with your friends as well if you think they'd like them. I have another big prize giveaway coming soon, so make sure you've clicked the notifications bell so you know when I upload a video, as the giveaway only has a 1 week deadline and I don't want any of you to miss out on the chance to win this. And just a reminder to use my code in the description below to receive 25% off at In Love Arts. This is where you can find the background dies, the heart, tree or floral die set, and they have much more in their online store too, and the link is below. Please remember to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate it, as YouTube then shares my videos around more. So these bonus cards are created using the leftovers from the dies. I'll have more info on them in part 2, which will also include cards made using the tree die and the flower set as well. And I love how these cards turned out, so I hope you'll tune in for that later in the week. Thanks again for watching and happy crafting. Bye for now.